Alrighty, the roof's on. This is part 7 of this shed build. And like in part 6, it's hot here in North Texas. The temperature's in the high 90s and low 100s pretty much every day. It's not a great time to be roofing, but it went on well. Let's just jump in and see how it went. Okay, this first part of the video could have been included in the prior video, part 6 siding, but it landed here. So here I am attaching the 2x3 support. Later, the soffit will be attached to this board. Okay, and then that 2x3 support allows me to finish off the siding with these 4 corners. Okay, and next it was time to put these trim pieces on. There's 2 in the front, 2 in the back. So here I am using these clamps and blocks of wood sort of as a cleat, which holds it up there while I measure and nail. And just shifting around to the back side here. And on this last piece, I want to go ahead and show how I would clamp in the full length board, then mark it on the back side, and then take it over and make the cut. And then it was time to start decking the roof. So here I am clamping these 2x4s as stilts to support the board when I slide it up on the roof. And I'm using the standard 4x8 sheets of 7/16 OSB. Now, while the shed framing is exactly 12 feet from front to back, after adding the siding and trim, it's closer to 12 feet, 2.5 inches. So an 8-foot sheet would not reach this next truss. So I've cut this first sheet to a little over 6 feet long to align with this truss here. Now, it was getting towards the end of the day, so I wasn't sure how much decking I would get done, so I had left the plastic sheeting on while I dry fit this first piece. But at this point, it was time to remove the plastic. So, 2 things to point out here. Number 1, I was not conservative with my nails. I had a lot of nails, and I used a lot of nails. And number 2, it's important when you're installing OSB, these black lines are facing up. As you can see here in this second piece, the black lines are not facing up. I really think I just got so excited that the first piece went in so well that I completely lost track of the black lines. Now, I think I realized the issue with the second piece when I was installing the third piece, but by then, I had used so many nails that second piece was not coming out. Now, another item of note is I did space each piece of OSB 1/8 inch apart. Okay, then it was time to remove the plastic from this other side, remove this support beam, and then finish the decking. Okay, then it was time to roll and staple the tar paper. And again, I wasn't conservative with the staples here, primarily because I was going to be walking on it later. Alrighty, then it was time to install the drip edge on this first eave. And then here I used some tin snips to cut the drip edge and then fold over this flap to help with drainage. And make note of this nail hole right here. Now it's important that the drip edge is installed under the tar paper, like this. However, the first time I did it, I actually put it on top and put in 1 nail before realizing what I was doing, which is why the nail hole was there earlier. And here I'm just finishing off the rest of this eave with a small piece at the end. And then I installed the 3rd row of tar paper so I can go ahead and put the drip edge on the rake. And just to make note of this excess drip edge at the peak, that will get taken care of later. And then I'm going to tack in some nails here so I can snap a few lines. Those lines will be used to align the shingles. And while I used architectural shingles for the main roofing, I used 3-tab shingles for the starter strips and the ridge shingles. And you can see here, I reversed the 3 tabs so that they're facing up for this starter strip. And then for the main shingling, I just followed the manufacturer's instructions for cutting and nailing and building that stack. And then once the first stack is done, the rest just follows suit. So I'll just take a second to explain this funny paint job on the fascia and on the trim. The goal here was to paint the part of those boards that would be underneath the drip edge and quickly do it and make it easier to paint later. And then just jumping over to the other side here. One thing that worked out nicely was that the third piece of tar paper from the first side of the roof actually covered half and half on each side. And here I'm using the tin snips on this drip edge to make this peak just right. And then just getting this last piece of drip edge on the rake, sliding it underneath the existing upper piece and on top of the eave drip edge so that any moisture is going to flow down and over. Alrighty, then it was time to shingle the other side. And at this point the skies were dry, but there were clouds and there was a forecast for rain. You'll see here it did start to rain, so I had to take a break for safety reasons. So then the rain did hit. I took that time to cut the ridge pieces from the 3-tab shingles. And when the rain did stop, I was able to go ahead and put in the ridge shingles. And one of the final pieces of the roofing was to go ahead and trim off the extra part of these shingles. Okay, so when it comes to these ridge shingles, our prevailing winds come from that direction. So I started my ridge shingles down on this end, which is the back of the shed. I used the 3-tab shingles, same ones that I used for the starter strip. And I cut this angle on each tab and then just wrapped it halfway, nailed 4 nails, 2 here, 2 here. Next shingle, right? So just carried that all the way down the other end. On the very end, that last shingle, last full shingle, had nails here and here, and then just cut a finish shingle and put 2 nails here, 2 nails here, and then just put the roof tar over it. Okay, that concludes this part 7 of this shed build. It's coming along and we'll finish things up in the next video. Thank you for watching.